It's time to take 10 minutes for Torah with Rabbi Joel Finkelstein.
Welcome to our discussion of Parashat Toledot, Yitzchak, the laid-back forefather. When we think about Yitzchak as opposed to Abraham, sometimes think of someone who's kind of passive. And people often take that in sort of the negative. Abraham went out to greet the guests. Abraham went out to save Lot. And Yitzchak is passive. He digs wells, stays at home, he gives brachas to his children. Seems kind of passive. I'd like to sort of turn that on its head and say that actually this passivity is actually a positive quality. First, in the binding of Isaac, when the greatest act that Yitzchak participated in was the binding of Isaac. And yes, he was passive. Yes, he allowed Abraham to give him to lift the knife to slaughter him. But ultimately, this was a passivity of a heroism. This was what we call gevura. What a great heroism to be able to hold back and say, I'm not going to protest. I'm not going to go crazy. I'm going to allow my father to offer me to God. Second case where we find a certain passivity is that he seems to accept the situation. Not only does he accept the binding of Isaac, which is so remarkable, but if the Philistines say, Lech meitam getzat me'od, leave us, they say, get out of here. In the beginning of one of the first episodes of Jews being expelled from a country, the Philistines say, Lech meitam getzat me'od, leave us, because you've become too great. You have too many sheep and too many cattle. We want you to go. He leaves. He goes to another place, and he's very successful over there. He doesn't matter. This is a reflection of that Jewish passivity throughout the ages that allowed us to not get all upset about the enemy, where we obsess over, we hate this kind of people and those kind of. We don't hate people from Spain. We don't hate people from Germany. We have been passively accepting our fate during history. And what's good about that is that there's no hatred. There's no anger. You just keep doing. And Yitzchak is a doer. To say that he's passive is kind of strange because most of the forefathers were shepherds. Avraham, Yaakov, they were shepherds. But Yitzchak, that Yitzchak planted, and he found 100-fold more than he should have received for his planting. He was a tremendous farmer, and he was growing in his wealth tremendously. So his passivity allows him to not be mired in hatred and to just move on. And with that, he was able to be quite successful. The passivity is also found in the blessing of the stealing of the birthright, stealing of the blessing. So Yaakov steals the blessing from Esau. Yitzchak is very surprised. He's had some suspicions, but he starts screaming, and he was sort of in shock that he had given the blessing to the wrong brother. But then he says, Gam Baruch Yeh, he'll be blessed also. So he probably figured out, he's a smart man, he probably figured out that Rivka was involved or what, and that, everything that was going on. And he said, all right, if God says that the blessing goes to Yaakov, all right, I was trying to give it to Esau, but that's the way it is. There's a certain passivity, a heroic passivity. It's the gevura, what the rabbis refer to as one of the great attributes of God, to be able to hold back. God sees a lot of things that he doesn't like in this world. He doesn't stop it right away. That's part of God's greatness. He allows us creatures to do our thing, and then he'll reward us or punish us later for the choices we make. But it's a greatness. It's a heroism. God's great inasmuch as he holds back. But this passivity and this acceptance, let's say, this acceptance led to two heroic things, two other heroic things. And what's that? He had this son, Esau. He knows that he's no good. I mean, you're not supposed to take a Canaanite girl. That was his whole biography, was that you're not allowed to leave Israel. You're not allowed to take a Canaanite girl. What does he do? He takes a Canaanite girl. He takes a Hittite girl. Even worse. Esau was married to two Hittites, not one, but two. And they were more at Ruach. They gave a lot of tsaras, a lot of bitterness to Yitzchak and Rivka, everybody knew that this is terrible. There's no question that Esav was off the derech. He was not on the path. That's one way of reading it. He was fully aware. Yitzchak is no dummy. I don't think he's this old man who doesn't know what's going on. No. He knows. But he's hoping that, to play up what he can. He says, look, I'm gonna throw the book at this Esav. Let's shower him with love. He's a very good hunter. Let's encourage that. Maybe you can hunt for me, for your father. You get the mitzvah of kibbud aveim, of honoring your father, and see what you can do. And he encourages him. And Esav is kind of staying in the fold. As a matter of fact, as in some of this, Rav Amnon Bazak pointed out, at the end of the parsha, he's very successful. Esav says, my father doesn't like the Hittite women. I'll marry Ishmael. That's a good idea. They're relatively good folks. The Ishmaelites, cousins of ours. I'll go marry them. You want to marry a cousin? I'll marry a cousin too. Now, of course, the rabbis point out that he didn't divorce his first wives who were so horrible. So now he's 4 wives, and he's building some kind of an empire, and it's kind of an evil empire. But nonetheless, there was something good that came out of it, because Yitzchak is heroic. Even with this pretty evil son, he was able to see the good in him, to try to bring out the good even in Esav. And lest we think that's it, you have to remember the Be'er L'chairoi. Again, Bazak pointed this out, but I've been pointing this out in other videos for years, which is that Yitzchak ba mibo mi Be'er L'chairoi. Where is Yitzchak coming from? In last week's parsha, in Chayei Sarah, it's coming from Be'er L'chairoi, the well of the living God who sees me, something like that. So what well is that? That's the well of Hagar. That's the well of Ishmael. Why was he living there? It seems that he was hanging out with Ishmael. And who buries Avraham? Yitzchak v'Ishmael banav. Yitzchak and Ishmael. One can posit that Yitzchak and Ishmael grew close, even though his father had to chase out the Ishmael, but not the son. Yitzchak was able to reconcile because he's passive, because he doesn't go berserk when he sees something wrong. He takes it in stride. He figures we can bring him more in the fold. And there is an idea that Ishmael did tshuva, that Ishmael shows you first. You're the brother. You're the main brother. Yitzchak, I'm second. Ishmael does tshuva because of Yitzchak's approach. Yitzchak, we don't always think of him as this heroic sort of Rav Kook, Chabadnik type of character who is an outreach kind of guy who's reaching out to Ishmael. He's reaching out to Esav. He's reaching out to his son. He makes peace with the neighbors. If they bother him, he doesn't say anything. If his father wants him to give his own life, he doesn't say anything. This is the great heroism. It's always, he's passive, but he's passive in a way that allows others to appreciate others, to allows others to maybe grow in a different kind of way. He appreciates the people around him. He is accepting both of his fate, as perhaps almost killed on the altar, his fate that he's chased out of the Philistine area, but also he's accepting of his son, accepting of his brother, Esav, Ishmael, and as such, he has this heroism to be able to accept difficult circumstances and even difficult people. We often say that he accepted the binding of Isaac, but here we're adding that he also accepted difficult people too. And sometimes that's a difficult task, and it's a challenging task. And that's what Yitzchak is a great hero. He can bear with it. Sometimes a Chabad rabbi sees people come into synagogue. They have all kinds of tattoos and all kinds of nose rings, and he has to realize, here stands a Jew. Here stands someone I love. Here stands someone with tremendous potential, and that's Esav. Despite the fact that his wives were bitter to Yitzchak, Yitzchak was not happy about Esav's life direction. He accepted him, and with that acceptance, there was love. Yitzchak was the first Rav Kook. Yitzchak was the first outreach worker. And as such, he needs to earn his place in the panoply and the pantheon, so to speak, of great forefathers, Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. Yitzchak, his great heroism that tried to bring the whole world closer to God, closer to Yitzchak, but not in an active way, going out to greet people, passive way of accepting those around him. Thank you for joining us here at the Baron Hirsch Congregation for a discussion of Parsha Toledot. Join us each week for discussion of the Parsha, various holidays, and thanks to Jason Lefkowitz, our producer. Thank you.
This has been 10 Minutes for Torah with Rabbi Joel Finkelstein.